Hello, hello, hello. Assalamu alaikum. Khushamade, Jiayanu.
Pakhairangale, ni hao, tunashume, washwale, ohio, gozaimasu, guten morgen, hola, bonjour, privyet, kaifa hal, hale shuma chatore, ahlan wasalan, marhaba, buna, mucho, gracias, swabia, bhalli kare aaya. And thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning into PTV World. You watching World this morning, alongside the very fantastic, the very amazing, the very superb, the very full of energy, the very supportive, the very resilient, Miss Taiba Nisar Khan and Shahzad Hasan Khan. Hello, Taiba. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you, Shahzad?
I'm absolutely perfect. I feel great, and thank you very much for joining us for the show today as well. Ladies and gentlemen, I think everybody who's actually glued to their television screens in 46 different countries, yeah, I think everybody needs to give a warm welcome to Taiba Nisar Khan because she's filling in for Shiza Hashmi, and we hope that everybody's doing great. You know, these times, ladies and gentlemen, are full of tests, and we really need to be resilient. Why am I talking like this, Taiba?
Okay, first, Shahzad, I need to ask you, you've learned the whole list of hellos in different languages in 46 countries that's being aired on. How did you do that? Is that through resilience?
Yeah, well, I'm not going to say that it was through resilience, but I think it was through innovation, and I thought that, probably I should innovate a new way of welcoming people or audiences as well, and this is how I came across. So my television journey actually started almost 12 years ago now, alhamdulillah. And so I did start with Assalamu Alaikum only, and then gradually, wherever I went, because my shows have been on, different channels all over the globe as well, may it be China, may it be US, may it be UK, and I've been doing shows for that. So I thought that, why not bring in something where, okay, all of a sudden people would be shocked, hey, you know what, he said hello in our language, and probably we should listen to him as well. Yeah. So it's just, I'm not going to say that it's a technique, but I'm going to say that it's a warm welcome for everybody who's out there to feel at home.
Okay, so Shahzad, there's another question that I want to ask you before we start the show.
Sure.
So you have been coming to this show for the past so many years, I think 7 years or maybe more than that. You've been in this field for 12 years. There are so many times I'm sure you might have faced trauma in your life. And you still had to show up. You had to get up, dress up, and show up.
Exactly.
So how did you manage that?
Okay, so I think I've got a very wonderful example to share with people who are out there, ladies and gentlemen. And I think that this is something which needs to be in each and every one's personality. This needs to be an essential part of personality. So I was supposed to go for a show to Multan, and there were no flights available. So I had to fly from Islamabad to Lahore, and then from Lahore to Multan, I had to drive. So while I was on my way, I was in conversation with my father, and he said that, hey, you know what, take my driver and my car, go to Lahore because the flight canceled, and then from there, fly to Multan. And I was like, okay, fair enough. While I was going, so my driver was telling me that, I'm very stressed, and, my younger one is very sick and whatnot. So he couldn't really concentrate on his driving. And all of a sudden, we had an accident. My car toppled 4 or 5 times. It was on the other side of the road. I got out of the car, I could hardly breathe, and I called my father and I was like, I'm in an accident and you need to come down. You know what he said? He said, I'm sending you the other car, sit down and make sure that you reach to work.
Whoa.
So this kind of training has actually helped me make sure that, that whatever I'm supposed to do, I should be focused, all the energy should be focused on it, rather than, just saying, hey, you know what, my car bumped in and, I just cannot do that. And the similar thing happened a few days ago with you too as well, and you were at work. So I think this is something which is very important, focusing on what your priorities are, because God forbid, if I wouldn't have been on that show, God forbid, which I wasn't able to, but I did miss out on all of that money too as well. So yeah, see everything as an opportunity, ladies and gentlemen, and that's very important. And why did you ask me this question in the first place?
Because, see, resilience is very important as a nation, as a community, as an individual, in a workplace as well. It's very important to be resilient. We face trauma, we face tragedies, we face so many issues in our society, in our personal lives, like relationship issues, like family issues, like so many other issues like meeting an accident, for instance. And yet, coming back, springing back into life, springing back into action is what makes us what we are. And I wanted to talk about this further in the show as well.
Yes.
So
we will do that. And ladies and gentlemen, I think springing, I think is the right term as well, but bouncing back to life. I mean, where you're living a life where life does not really become a liability for you, or you do not really start to think that, hey, you know what, was I really born for this life? I think we really need to change the mindset over here, people.
Absolutely.
We really need to bring it from our inner self as well. We really need to bring it from our faith. We really need to submit to Allah Almighty and believe in His plans as well.
Absolutely.
Because man plans, But whatever is going to happen will be according to Allah's plan as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, today we've picked up on resilience. Pakistan, as we all know, that we have been a very resilient nation. May it be earthquakes, any natural calamity, may it be terrorism, extremism, or anything. We have always, alhamdulillah, made sure that we're going to emerge from all of those disasters and catastrophes as well, and that too collectively. But today what we're going to do is that we're going to start talking about resilience from a very younger age, from a simple, ordinary household to community, and then to on a macro level where we're going to talk about the nations as well. But very quickly, so this is the point where we want to start the show with, ladies and gentlemen, before I introduce my amazing and honorable guests as well, and that is that this is something which was said by Fatma Suraiya Bajia Saiba, one of very literary figures of Pakistan, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, all over the globe, she was respected for the kind of work she did. She said that, we're not teaching our kids, God forbid, if they're going to lose their job, what are they supposed to do? God forbid, if they lose their son or daughter, what are they going to do? God forbid, if their marriage is not working, what are they going to do? I mean, all of these things we really need to be considerate and make sure that these things won't be stigmatized or tabooed, even to be discussed with other relatives.
Absolutely. Important factor is the Daniel Goleman concept of emotional intelligence. That's really important. IQ is important, but EQ is also very important in order to overcome situations and tragedies like these. And there's this book, 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma, which also talks about the same fact that in order to grow, in order to be a better human, you need to face tragedies. And that's very important. And that's what we're going to talk about, resilience.
And I'm glad, ladies and gentlemen, that now I've finally met somebody else as well who actually follows Robin Sharma as well. He's a great motivational guy as well for me. But ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, we're very lucky that we've actually been joined by a motivational speaker himself. He's one of our very originals over here on World This Morning. He is Muhammad Abdul Wahab Sahab. Hello, sir. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning.
Walaikum salam. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you very much for joining us, sir. It's wonderful to have you, and it's an honor to host you as well. Thank you very much.
So much.
Alongside Mr. Muhammad Abdul Wahab Sahab, ladies and gentlemen, this gentleman is a savior. He's a superhero without a cape as well, and he's one of those people whom we call an author and analyst. He is Mr. Sabauddin. Hello, sir. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning.
Walaikum salam. A very warm good morning.
How are you?
All well.
Thank you very much for joining us. But today, we're going to take a very different turn. First of all, we want to know that one incident in your life which made you resilient, which made you have patience, and which made you submit to Allah Almighty.
Yes, almost everyone has. Yeah. And I had one in my life back in 1999.
All right.
I was on a UN mission to East Timor.
Yep.
And I fell victim to dengue.
Okay.
And since family was not there, and friends were almost 50 kilometers away, I was in another district. I was taken by my colleagues to military hospital, the hospital setup we used to have. And I spent almost 7 days in that hospital.
Right.
I used to have almost 104 to 105 degree Fahrenheit temperature, almost the whole day.
Right.
And the people who were treating me, I didn't know the language. It was Jordanian military contingent hospital. So the people who would serve me, they would serve me with loaves of meat and the juice which I used to hate. And you will be surprised, when my body temperature would rise, I would thought perhaps this was going to the end of my life. Right. You see, because a patient with similar condition next to my bed, he had expired. Right. And somehow he had come to know. And I didn't want to tell my family back in Pakistan. So what I used to do, whenever my temperature would come around 100 degree Fahrenheit, I would give a call to my family and I would pretend that I was perfectly all right, everything was fine, and nothing had gone wrong. Yeah. You see, sometimes my colleagues would come and visit me and they would always try to console me, okay, don't worry, nothing would happen and this and that. But since I didn't have support system, and perhaps if I would have been with any South Asian contingent military hospital, I perhaps would have asked for the food which I used to like. But since they had a culture, so I do remember that those 7 days were a sort of challenge. I had two ways. I would have surrendered. I would have said, well, perhaps now this is the end of life. So perhaps I should really be thankful to Allah, whatever He has given me so far, and that's all. But there was other thing.
What was that?
My family was here.
All right.
Everyone was waiting for me. Everyone was expecting me to be in the best of health and return to home country. Yeah. Then I decided, no man, I have to really wage a war against dengue. I said, let whatever comes. You see, I kept my spirits high. I said, no, I am going to survive. Allah is with me.
Yeah.
You see, when you take Allah along your side, then real help comes.
Exactly.
Then I realized after a week, when I returned to my duty station almost after 10 days, you will be surprised that I was not even able to move my body parts. Because dengue usually, with all its severity, it drains out almost every second drop of energy.
Yeah.
I do remember we had a Bangladeshi contingent there, and Major Zahid from those military engineers, he was the guy who gave me life, real life. He fed me 40 days with all sorts of possible protein food, because at that place where I was posted, there was no food, you know. It was a war-torn area, and there was total destruction of infrastructure, and there was no food available. So I still remember Major Zahid in my heart,
Wow.
who helped me, rather he was the only one who helped me to survive.
Mashallah.
Why I'm sitting here? Because of him, after Allah Ta'ala.
Exactly.
So
Wonderful.
basically, you tricked your mind into believing that you're okay.
Exactly.
And you also got family
Exactly.
outside of family in the
Exactly.
name of
And
face
let me
of
tell
Major
you, your
Zahid.
mind is so powerful. It basically acts the way you formulate your thoughts, the way you give it signals. You see, there could be a danger in front of you. If you start feeling that you're going to surrender, or the danger is too big, you really can't encounter it. So what is going to happen? Your mind is really start believing that, oh, we have to surrender. This is too big. We really can't fight. But at the same time, when a male chicken, stands in front of a lion with a heart full of courage and bravery, it really makes a lion run away. I have seen videos, you know,
Exactly.
a chicken, a male chicken,
Really?
fully grown
Yeah.
male chicken, it has made a lion run away using, because lion was surprised, how come such a tiny creature could really pose that sort of bravery and courage in front of me?
Indeed.
I'm the king of, forest, you see.
So it does not really matter how big or small you are, ladies and gentlemen. It totally depends on the kind of courage you carry within your own heart as well.
Absolutely.
But sir, moving on to you, what are you going to share with us?
I think, Shahzad, when we talk about resilience, it is something beyond just your survival.
Yeah.
Everything is breakable. You know, when we talk about resilience, it means it is still breakable, it is brittle, it can be twisted under pressure, but how quickly it is able to regain or recuperate its initial form. Like the word you said, can bounce back, so it has an elastic nature. So the speed it takes to recuperate, it is the graduation or the degree of recuperability
Exactly.
or the resilience. Let me take you a step further.
Sure.
Resilience doesn't mean that you just regain your initial form. It is much more than that. It is to become even better than you were before. So if you compress a piece of carbon under immense stress, it becomes a diamond.
Yeah.
So the question is whether you are going to become a piece of coal or you are going to become
Diamond.
a crystal of diamond. So this is what I take resilience as.
So I want to ask you one thing. Sorry for cutting you short. You talked about how if you apply pressure on coal, it becomes diamond. However, there are some coal which break. So how do you make and achieve that mental toughness in order to become a diamond rather than breaking away?
It is not something to deceive yourself. It's not about deceiving yourself to accept a situation.
Yeah.
When you are under odds, when you are in difficult circumstances, it is you versus the universe. When you say, why me? Why am I the only one suffering? And when you try to resist this change, you are trying to resist the circumstances, it means you are in trouble. And you can't fight this universe. So the best thing is to go in unison with the universe.
Yeah.
To become one with the universe. And how you do that? You surrender yourself. The very meaning of word Islam is surrender.
Surrender, yeah.
The first step is to surrender. And if you say, oh Lord, or nature, or system, or the universe, I surrender to you, and I accept the circumstances I am in. This is the first step to climb. When you climb this step, it becomes easier for you to plan how to deal with it.
Yeah.
Without going into the unison with the trouble, without accepting it, without surrendering to it, you cannot fight it.
Absolutely.
So the question is how quickly you understand it, that you have to accept it, and how you are going to plan it, and how you are going to tackle with this difficulty. This is what actually the resilience is. So resilience makes you anti-fragile.
Yeah.
Anti-fragile is different in a way that you emerge even shining better, even in a better, with a better strength to deal with the odds in your life.
Exactly, and that's important as well. And there's one more thing which I would pose towards you, and that is how important it is to recognize all of those negative thoughts which come across your mind as well. Because half of the time, what we've seen is that we've had this habit, and it has been hereditary as well. That okay, brush it under the carpet. Oh, koi masla nahi, oh, koi gal nahi hai. How important it is to recognize an emotion.
Yes.
This is something I want to talk to you about. But right now, ladies and gentlemen, we actually have a small report to share about resilience as well. Please go ahead, take a look, and when you guys will come back, we'll try to understand whether how important it is to try and understand that whatever is coming across our thoughts really need to be recognized, whether it should be or not. Let's take a look.
Word is resilience. Resilience is a word that most of us have heard, but some don't understand. Resilience is like a tree in the wind. When the wind blows, it bends and then adapts by coming back to center. With people, it's an adapting to a traumatic experience, a coming to terms with the experience. When we're young, we have shocking experiences, like being startled by a neighbor's barking dog, or a scary movie that gives us nightmares. Or maybe that overwhelming first day of school. These are scary things that can cause us much fear. Most of us learn to adapt or come to terms with them. So we all learn resilience at a young age. Everyone is resilient to some degree, but as we experience more serious things, we can have a harder time adjusting. A traumatic experience like abuse, violence, or even something like rape. Experiences like these can stop you in your tracks. You can't adapt like you did with less severe traumas. These are life experiences that shock you to your core, and you become caught up in them and can't shake them. You simply can't adapt or easily come to terms with them. When we experience trauma like that, there are many people that can help. When we are young, our parents, brothers and sisters, friends and teachers. But when we experience major trauma, we might need help from a counselor or even a doctor. Doctors that help people with adapting to life after a traumatic experience are called psychologists. But those aren't the only ones that can help. A whole community can provide help, especially if your community is a trauma-informed community. So when you hear the word resilience, you can think about adapting or getting back to center. And learning to adapt to traumatic experiences over time can help you become even more resilient. Here are a few strategies to help you cope with trauma and help you get back the ability to recover. 1. Establish an attachment to a caring adult. 2. Learn the ability to calm oneself. 3. Gain a sense of belonging. We have 42 strategies to help you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think that this is what you're supposed to do, but there are pros and cons to everything. Ladies and gentlemen, we want you to understand it in a very beautiful way. But very quickly, before I go back to where Sabha Saab has actually said that, it's not just an individual thing, we need to do it collectively, that's important. But I have a life event which I wanted to share with all my audiences, and I think today is the day when I'm going to speak about it. So when I was 21, I was actually diagnosed with blood cancer.
Oh.
And it was chronic myeloid leukemia. And my weight dropped from 96 or 100 kgs to 71. And I wasn't just all right. And I didn't have any energy in me. And, the hospital actually didn't take me in because they were like, okay, we're going to give him this medicine, just take him home. If he responds to that, that's good enough. So I got back home, and once I got to know that, okay, this is something which has happened to me at a very tender age of 21, I was like, let me read about it a little. So I went on to Google. I wrote down, is CML curable? So the first answer which popped up was, unfortunately, it's not curable as of yet. And then I started reading, and it gave me somewhat rough time of 45 days that, okay, you've got life expectancy of 45 days. And I was really worried. I was like, Shazad, you're done, bro. You know, you should probably ask for forgiveness for Allah Almighty and everything. And I was like, okay, you know, this is a hard time. And I kept this information to myself for 2 days. Right. My elder sister recognized that there was something wrong with me. And so I opened up in front of her and I was like, hey, you know what? So, you know, this is what the books, the medicine books and Google says. And I'm very worried about it. And she said, you know what? This is just the first phase, you know, it's not very chronic, and you know the way you were thinking about it, you know, it's not like that, you know, you're just going to be fine. And one way or the other, I just kind of stuck to that. For whatever my elder sister said, I was like, okay, you know, I need to believe in this. And alhamdulillah, ladies and gentlemen, it's been what, 13 years down the line, I'm good and I'm healthy as well. And I think everybody needs to understand the power of belief. That's what we are talking about.
Well, that is a very motivational
But shukr
story.
alhamdulillah, you know, Allah wanted me to kind of be in your life so far, so I'm here. But now coming down to the point where we initially said that, you know, God forbid you lose your job, divorce, God forbid, you know, your son dies, daughter dies, you know, these are traumas of a kind where people, once under pressure, they lose their own life as well. So let's start from here. How can we educate our you know, younger generations that these are the things which life will bring to you, and this is what you need to do? Please go on.
Absolutely correct. First of all, Shahzad, I like to tell you that you really stand as a symbol of resilience, you know,
Jazakallah, sir.
and most of us have to. Now, the question you have raised, basically, I mean, usually we discuss this issue and we always come out with the conclusion that unfortunately what we are doing, we are not training ourselves the way we should. There are so many emotions in life. We do not know how to deal whenever we come across a problem. As you rightly mentioned, divorce, it's a big issue.
Yep.
For example, somebody loses job. It's a matter of survival. Somebody meets an accident. It's a sort of almost one feels that he or she is crippled. Now, how to come out? You see, right from the beginning, perhaps, I mean, we need to train our mothers, and mothers need to train their children, that whenever they come across any problem, right from the beginning, they have to have a strategy. Every child should know that Allah Ta'ala is there. We always have to seek His support. Our religion asks us to pray 5 times. Real motivation comes from there, that we submit ourselves to Allah Ta'ala, and we always know that whatever calamity we come across, we are going to get helped by Him.
Exactly.
So, we have to inculcate in the minds of our children while bringing them up that whenever you face a problem, first ask your Creator for help. Seek support of your family members and friends. They are your support, basically lifeline support. Basically, our children, they never discuss their problems. In such cases, for example, losing a job, there have to be strategies. First, we have to accept that, yes, this is life. Anything can happen. Yep. We might get separated from our nearest dear and ones. You see, we might lose perhaps best of the jobs. We might lose a life partner. We might lose children, we might lose parents, for example. So, how we have to deal with that? First, seeking help from God. Second, trying to console ourselves that this is life and these are all parts of game. You see, we have been sent to this life, to this world, one way or the other way, one day or the other day, some of us have to start leaving this world. You see, jobs are meant to support us, but there has to be a sort of satisfaction from inside that, God forbid, I have lost a job today. Tomorrow, I am going to be given a better jobs from my Creator, from my Allah.
Probably, you know, even in the first place, you know, Allah gave me this job, you know,
Allah
so
gave
there'll
me
be a
this job.
better thing as well.
You see, likewise, as you said, divorce. You see, basically, first of all, I mean, our children need to be trained in such a way that things do not reach that stage. Exactly. You see, if we are properly trained, if we know how to control our anger, if we know how to control various, you know, indicators of life, then we do not reach that stage. Absolutely. God forbid, if we reach that stage, then, I mean, we should really sort of from that training, we should be able to get out of that sort of difficult situation easily.
Exactly.
You talked about how the mothers should play a huge role, and how turning back to Allah Ta'ala is really important, and also develops serotonin in our system, which helps us relax and which helps us to be more calm in our situation in the face of adversity. Now, coming back to you, he's talked about how home is very important. How important is the informal or the formal education system and the community level in building the psychological resilience in a person? And how important is to break the taboo that going to a therapist, for instance, or seeking psychological help, how is that going to ensure the community to go on a bigger level in order to becoming more resilient?
4 things. The first and foremost is...
Like the way you said it. You were ready. 4 things.
Yeah.
Yes.
The first and foremost is that it is very normal to be abnormal.
Yeah.
It is very normal to face abnormal circumstances and to face an abnormality or feel an abnormality in you. So it is very normal. It is not a disease. It is not a disorder. It is just a normal thing to be abnormal for quite some time. But then it is the resilience that brings you from that abnormality into the normalcy. The second thing, what we need to inculcate is to tell people as a society, to our children, that life is not a punishment. Jaane kis jurm ki pai ye saza yaad nahi concept is wrong. Life is precious, life is a gift. So we have to celebrate this life while we live it. The next thing, the third thing is happiness. How to create happiness. Happiness is not present in our lives. We have to create this happiness. So how we create this happiness is the thing that we need to teach to our children. The next thing is attachment. Attachment means the more we are attached to the worldly things, the more we are attached to even our relations, we are going to face difficulty while circumstances change and when they have to leave. These attachments have to sever their relation from your life. So we have to see the reality of these attachments that we are in with our children, with our parents, with our families, with our society as a whole. So
that is so hard.
But it is natural. It is hard, but we see our loved one going. We see we losing our things, our precious things that we own, getting robbed, facing accidents, losing our health. So it is very normal. It is hard because we are not trained in that way. We have not been told to accept it as such.
Yeah.
So these 4 things, starting from life is not a punishment. Second, creating the happiness. Third, understanding the attachments. And fourth, being abnormal is very normal.
Yeah.
I think this will help us.
Exactly. That's true. And, adding on to what I was talking about before we actually went out towards this report was how to recognize all of these thoughts as well, because there are multiple thoughts in the common man's mind. God forbid, losing their parents, financial insecurity, probably sickness and health issues as well, and all of these thoughts keep on popping whenever you're just driving somewhere, whenever you're going somewhere, and it is very common.
Absolutely.
And half of the time what we're doing is that we're just sitting on these thoughts. We're not doing anything about these thoughts. And we're like, okay, Allah behtar karega, that's good.
Yeah.
But a man needs to take some action as well.
Absolutely.
So how do we recognize these thoughts in the first place? Because we're not trained to do so.
Yeah.
God forbid. So what happens is we keep on sitting on that thought, and when, God forbid, if such a thing like that happens, there you are, lying on the floor, and you do not want to get up, and you've given up on life.
First of all, acceptance that we are mortal beings. We haven't been created forever. You see, we are created for a certain span of time, which
It's the
is
fear of unknown as well,
Yeah,
what's going to happen.
You see, even Allah Ta'ala in the Quran says that, do you think that you will, I'm telling the meanings, do you think that you will go to the heaven without any tribulations?
Yeah.
Those who were before you, they were tested many a times,
Exactly.
you see, and they were tested to a limit that even Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he and his companions started saying, when will Allah Ta'ala's help come? You see, so we are far less, in that religious capacity, but what happens, we have decided, or we have thought, it has gone into our psyche that we are here forever, our parents here forever, our children are here forever, whatever material things we are enjoying, they will last forever. It's not like that. So we should start sort of giving a lesson, or we should start reminding our society, ourselves, that look, today we are here, tomorrow we not be there. You see? Yes, you want to have a
yes,
question,
I
please.
want to actually ask you that
Yeah.
earlier we talked about how support system is really important. You talked
Yes,
about that.
yes.
And then he talked about detachment being important factor.
Yes.
So how do we ensure that both of these are balanced? Support system and detachment from your support system.
You see, balance. You
Yeah, I
have
mean,
to.
did he even speak about detachment from support system? That's something very important. Did you
True.
say that?
I think,
I'm
the
sorry, we'll
mind-
come back to you, Wahab sir, but
The
Yeah,
mind
no problem
plays
at
a
all.
lot of tricks. So you have to first of all learn how to silence this mind, this noise going on
Yeah.
in the head. So first we need to learn this. The second thing, attachments mean accepting the relationship and accepting the bond.
Yeah.
But understanding that this bond is not permanent.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
Wahab
so
sir.
basically, I mean, we are perhaps analyzing a coin from two different sides.
Yep.
What happens when we say, when you said attachment? Yes, of course. I will compare. South Asian society, fantastic attachment among family members, among friends. European society, detachment, they're detached. So basically, we have to strike a balance. Attachment has to be there, that it really supports you from inside and outside. But at the same time, 100% reliance on attachment without doing anything from your own side, that is basically not
So
acceptable.
I think we've come to the conclusion that ensuring that there is attachment with your community level, however, knowing that they are not there forever, and you have
Yeah.
to realize and tell yourself, tell your mind that we have to let go.
And accept
so
it
learning
beforehand.
the yes, and learning the art of letting go. I believe.
Absolutely correct.
And this is where life becomes a little difficult, ladies
Very
and gentlemen.
difficult.
And obviously, when you will have all of these hardships as well, God forbid, financial insecurity, God forbid somebody losing their parents, divorce, just think of these as mountains, and you have to cross them, and then there's this mountain where there's resilience written on top of it as well. But right now, we want to actually recommend people which movies to watch, in order to learn about resilience as well, and how people do bounce back as well. So first things first, ladies and gentlemen, we're actually going to start from a book. We want to share a book with you guys in order for all of those people, if they want to do their own SWOT analysis, think about their own strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, because I think that's one important thing to do with your life as well. So please, can we have the cover of the book? All right, ladies and gentlemen, so here's the book which we are recommending today. The name is The Resilience Factor, and what you will do is that you will actually go through this book and learn 7 keys to finding your inner strength and overcoming life's hurdle. And this is a book by Andrew Shuttle and Karen Ravech. So if you're going to give it a read, ladies and gentlemen, I think it will be great as well, and books definitely will help you.
Absolutely. Now,
Yeah.
moving on to the movie as well, there's this movie, The Pursuit of Happiness, which I personally really love. It's also by my favorite actor. The Pursuit of Happiness is about this little, a man who has a little boy and a wife as well. And he has a
He used
lot
to have
of...
a wife. Yeah.
He used to have
Yeah,
a
yeah,
wife,
yeah.
unfortunately,
Yeah.
yes. And he went through a lot of hurdles. And let's take a look at the trailer. He came through, and
Yeah.
let's look at the
And
trailer
Will
now.
Smith is one of my favorites anyways as well.
28
Please go
years
ahead,
old.
take a look.
When I had children, my children were going to know who their father was.
Chris Gardner was doing his best,
We don't need two.
We don't need one.
Maybe next quarter.
It's possible.
but his best wasn't enough.
Man, I got 2 questions for you. What do you do, and how do you do it?
I'm a stockbroker.
Stockbroker. Oh. Hey, I'm gonna let you hang on to my car for the weekend, but I need it back for Monday. Feed the meter.
I need the rent. I can't wait anymore. I need you out of here in the morning.
You gotta trust me, all right?
I trust you.
Because I'm getting a better job.
Let me see if I can find you an application for our internship.
Did Mom leave because of me?
Mom left because of Mom, and you didn't have anything to do with that. There's no salary.
No.
I was not aware of that. My circumstances have changed some.
Dad, where are we going?
I don't know. Last year, we had an intern score on 90% on the written exam. He wasn't chosen. It's not a simple pass-fail.
You're not quitting on the shed, are you?
Don't ever let somebody tell you you can't do something. Not even me. All right?
All right.
Jay says you're pretty determined.
Where are you going? Go to the hospital. I'm in a competitive internship at Dean Witter.
He said you're smart.
That was the movie that talks about resilience and shows you how to move on and let go from issues in your life and be very successful in your life. Now, moving on to the community level and then the national level, Pakistan in itself is a very resilient nation. Shehzad, we know that in the 2005 earthquake attack, the 2005 earthquake, around 87,000 lives were lost, unfortunately. People from all parts of the country, entire world as well, they helped Pakistan, they gave aid, people volunteered, and we came out strong. Then Pakistan also, unfortunately, had to go through a wave of terrorism, the menace of terrorism, and so many people were displaced, internally displaced persons. Then we had about 9,000 soldiers who we lost and about 23,000 civilians that we lost. So Pakistan has been a very resilient nation. We, as you've said earlier, we bounced back. And we've had also the rape threat survivors. We have the bonded labor survivors. Iqbal Masih was a child, a Christian child, who helped children come out. He was resilient. That's why he did that. So moving on to that.
And not just that, you know, one last thing which I'm going to mention over here, ladies and gentlemen, because on 16th of December, it was the 6th anniversary of the APS attack as well. So imagine that it's not just the elderly or the soldiers or anybody else. It has been the kids of Pakistan as well who's actually rendered sacrifices for their motherland as well, which we believe was very important.
And Shehzad, those children are doing wonders now. One of the child, he's in Oxford doing wonders. His brother was unfortunately killed in that attack. 141, rather 156 children were martyred, 151, sorry, people were martyred, out of which 131 were children. And that's very unfortunate. These two events were the significance and the highlights of Pakistani resilience.
Exactly. And you know, when we were in conversation with all of those parents, and they were like that, you know, if Pakistan will require another child, we will be very happy to do so as well. And we know that they're up in the heavens as well. But now as a nation, how do we bounce back? You know, because all of that foreign pressure or you know, relationships with other countries and how, you know, they kind of de-stress you at times and then put you under pressure as well. How do we deal with that?
You know, we have already proved that we are resilient right from the beginning. 1947, we rose from ashes.
Yes.
Exactly.
You see, recent history, earthquake, Kashmir earthquake, I mean, we really came out
stronger.
I shouldn't call it successful, but we really proved that we had the mettle to come out. Out of this terror war, we lost so many civilians, so many military men, you know. I mean, it was really terrible. Perhaps that time we thought we were not going to survive anymore, but we came out. Alhamdulillah, our civilians gave lots of sacrifices, our military men gave lots of sacrifices. We had these floods, you see. Our military almost went everywhere. They could do whatever they could. And we are really thankful to God that apart from resilience within our civilians, we have a military which goes everywhere to rescue civilians. You know, we are really blessed. So how to deal in future? Well, sometimes we really see that our present appears gloomy and dismal. And we really want to rise above all these negative conditions. How to do that? Since we have the mettle, we have the ability, the only thing is we are not organized. We have to organize, we have to sit together, we have to make a plan, we have to organize, and we have to really once for all decide that we have to improve our future. We have to have good planners who really, I mean, keeping all our resources in hand. They should plan. At the same time, individual levels, community level, and at national level, we have to educate, we have to train, we have to give technical skills, we have to sort of be good manufacturers, exporters. In short, we have to take now final decision that we have to rise above this sort of legacy of slumber and inaction.
Absolutely. Now moving on to Mr. Sabauddin, how does Pakistan as a nation develop resilience in itself? How do we develop the resilience in not just individual and community level, but in a nation as well? Do we need structural reforms? Do we need institutional reforms? How do we do that?
And please do wrap it up for us as well.
I think when we say resilience, we talk about resilience in multi-dimensional framework. Economy, even the climate change, even the social structure. So we need to have plan for each and every dimension separately. We are resilient, but unfortunately we are vulnerable also. For example, the recent issues regarding the climate change, the glacial lake outburst up in the north. You know, we are a vulnerable community, vulnerable country. So what the solution is that to strengthen the organizations in each dimension, our economic institution, our social organizations, and there comes the partnership between the state institutions, state organizations, and the local community. Because the component that makes the structure, that makes the system of the systems is the person and the community, the village level, the town level, the city level, then the district level, and then the province level. So we have to connect the social frame and the institutions managed by the state to bring them together to make a framework that helps even in the hardest of circumstances.
Absolutely, that's very important. Talking about resilience today actually made me a little resilient as well, and it gave me this motivation to ensure that any issue that I come through, I have to be resilient. I would like to add one thing, Shahzad, which is really important for me. Being a woman, it is harder to be resilient in the society, especially after facing some issues, gender-based violence, etc., etc. So it's very important for the women of Pakistan, also the men, of course, to help us, help women grow, and for women to become resilient. The role is on fathers, on brothers, on friends as well, on literally everyone's sons. So the women have to be very resilient because we make about 51% of the population, and if we're not resilient, we won't be able to make our children resilient.
Exactly.
So it's very important, as he already mentioned it earlier, that the resilience of a mother is transferred into the children.
Exactly.
So that's very important.
That's wonderfully said as well. Well, thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us. It was wonderful to be in conversation and to speak about resilience as well. And for everybody who's out there, ladies and gentlemen, towards the end, I'm going to only say one thing. And I want everybody to listen to it very carefully as well. And that is that, you know, that a man is not the epitome of resilience. You know, it should be each and every one of us, and it does not come from a man, and it shouldn't come from a man. I'm sorry, I'm disagreeing, but I think women on their own needs to be resilient, men on their own needs to be resilient as well. Because when we start to expect from somebody, or when we look up to somebody that, okay, you know what, he's going to do this for me, that's the time when we actually lose on resilience as well. It needs to come from within, and it needs to come from each and every one of us as well.
And also breaking the taboos. Breaking the taboos of seeking therapy, seeking psychological support is very important in order to make a resilient nation, resilient community, resilient individual, and a family as well. And of course, these levels, if they're crossed, then we'll only become a resilient
Exactly. With that, ladies and gentlemen, it's about time that we actually wrap up the show as well. Please make sure that you write to us on our Facebook page, which is with the name of World This Morning. On Twitter, it's World This Morning without a G. On Daily Motion and YouTube, it's World This Morning. The fabulous repeat's going to be at 5 past midnight tonight. Till the next time, 1, 2, 3. Good morning.
morning.
Thank you.